like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, buckle up, everyone, because we are diving headfirst into one heck of a game.
Oh, yeah.
The Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers.
Thursday Night Football.
That's right, Thursday Night Football. And,
Had us all on the edge of our seats.
absolutely. I mean, playoff implications galore.
Yeah.
This thing had instant classic written all over it.
Definitely. And beyond just, the score and the excitement and all that,
Right.
this game really gives us a chance to look at some really interesting things happening in the league. Like, how are coaches approaching the game? How much risk are they willing to take? And then, how are teams adapting when they're really under pressure?
So much to unpack.
So much.
Okay, so first, let's set the scene here. The Lions took this one 34-31 over the Packers.
Yeah.
And with that win, they clinched a playoff spot, bringing their record to a dominant 12 wins and only one loss.
Really cemented their position as, a real contender in the NFC.
Oh, absolutely.
They've been so consistent all season long. And this win just goes to show how they can pull it out when the pressure is really on.
And gotta give a lot of credit to their coach, Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
This guy is not afraid to roll the dice.
It's like watching Riverboat Ron out there.
He went for it on 4th down.
Except statistically,
Not once, but twice.
those all-or-nothing coaches don't really pan out in the long run.
In crucial moments.
So it'll be interesting to see if he can buck that trend.
Yeah, talk about gutsy calls. So let's rewind a bit. Late in the second quarter, 4th and goal from the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
Most coaches, in that situation, they're taking the safe field goal. But Campbell goes for the touchdown.
But Gibbs delivers.
And Gibbs delivers. Huge momentum shift going into halftime.
Huge.
Then, just 43 seconds left on the clock.
Oh, I remember this.
Tie score, and the Lions need 7 yards for a first down. It's 4th down.
Talk about pressure.
Again,
Yeah.
Campbell goes for it.
On 4th down. Wow.
I was on the edge of my seat. I don't know about you.
Oh, absolutely.
Most coaches, right? I feel like at that point, they're thinking field goal, try to avoid overtime.
Trying to play it safe.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Campbell, he's got confidence in that offense.
A lot of faith in his guys.
Yeah. And it almost backfired. Goff nearly fumbles the snap.
My heart skipped a beat.
It was a nail biter, but he recovers, scrambles, gets the first down,
Yeah.
setting up the game-winning field goal.
That near fumble there really shows you how risky Campbell's strategy can be.
Yeah.
It worked out this time, but you have to wonder if he can keep taking those kinds of risks in the playoffs.
Right, because the margin for error just gets smaller and smaller as you go.
Absolutely.
It's that million-dollar question, right?
Yep.
Will this daring style lead to a championship, or is it going to be their downfall?
We'll have to see.
Now let's talk about the Lions' defense.
Okay.
Coming into this game, they were riddled with injuries.
You've got to give them credit for how they handled that.
I thought it could have been a recipe for disaster against a Packers offense like that.
For sure.
So how did they cope with all these key players out?
They basically just decided to go all-out aggression, just blitz Jordan Love relentlessly. From the very first snap. They just brought the heat.
I guess it's one way to make up for the missing personnel.
Yeah, it was definitely a risky move.
But risky, but it worked.
It worked. It rattled Love early on.
Remember that sack on the Packers' first play?
Oh, yeah, Zadarius Smith just came in like a wrecking ball.
Talk about setting the tone.
Yeah. It forced the Packers to completely rethink their game plan, right?
Cool.
Just shows you how important it is to disrupt that offensive rhythm early.
Totally agree.
But, we got to give credit where credit's due.
Oh, for sure.
Packers didn't back down easy. They had their moments. They showed they weren't just going to roll over.
Absolutely. They fought back hard.
So how did they counter that Lions defense?
Well, they really leaned into their running game.
Especially with Josh Jacobs. The guy ran for 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Their coach, Matt LaFleur, he knew he had to take advantage of the Lions' weakness against the run.
Smart.
And he did just that.
It was a brilliant counter strategy, really capitalizing on that vulnerability.
It makes you wonder if that's the key to beating the Lions.
Right. Is that the blueprint?
Maybe.
Now, there was a turning point in this game, and it wasn't pretty for the Lions.
Oh,
Goff throws a really costly interception,
it was rough.
giving the Packers prime field position, and you know what?
Yeah.
They capitalized,
Of course.
taking the lead 21-17.
It happens to the best of them.
It does, but that interception really swung the momentum back in the Packers' favor.
For a while there, it felt like the Lions might be in trouble.
Oh, yeah, I thought the tide was turning for sure.
It was a tense moment.
It
was a good reminder that, even the best quarterbacks, they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Especially when you got that kind of pass rush breathing down your neck.
Yeah. Got to give the Packers defense credit. They forced that error.
Yeah, they did.
And it almost cost the Lions the game.
Almost.
But this game, man, it was a back and forth the whole time.
Oh, for sure.
Just when you thought one team had the upper hand, boom, the other team comes right back.
Yeah, it was like a tug of war.
Total tug of war.
Back and forth, back and forth.
And remember, the Lions, they actually failed on another 4th-down attempt.
Oh, that's right.
So even Campbell's risky strategy, it doesn't always work out, right?
No, it doesn't.
But then you had Tim Patrick. He was back after two seasons sidelined with injuries.
Wow. 2 seasons.
And he catches 2 touchdowns for the Packers.
Talk about a comeback story.
Talk about a comeback, right.
Yeah.
And then for Green Bay, you can't forget about that near sack on Love that turned into a huge completion to Watson.
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
I mean, they just kept finding ways to stay in the game.
They did. They didn't give up.
Love, especially, his ability to escape pressure, extend plays, that was huge for the Packers.
For sure. I mean, a quarterback who can move like that can really change the game.
Okay, so now, picture this. The Lions' final drive.
Okay.
It was electric.
Right.
Big play after big play. You got Goff connecting with St. Brown for like 16 yards on 2nd and 17.
Wow, that's clutch.
Clutch, right.
Yeah.
But then they'd get hit with a holding penalty, setting them back.
All the ups and downs.
It was a roller coaster.
It was.
But Goff, I mean, he really stepped up on that final drive. He did. He had that bad interception earlier. But when the game was on the line,
yeah,
he delivered.
And he did. He really showed his leadership there.
Yeah, I mean, composure under pressure, that's what you want to see from your quarterback.
Exactly.
And of course, you got to talk about Campbell again, going for it on 4th down instead of just playing it safe with a field goal.
I mean, that's just classic Dan Campbell, right?
Yeah, it's him. He's not afraid to take risks.
Living on the edge.
He trusts his players.
He does.
And you know what? It's made this Lions team so exciting to watch. You never know what they're going to do next.
Unpredictable.
So just to recap here.
Okay.
Hard-fought victory for the Lions, 34-31.
Yep.
Securing their spot in the playoffs.
They earned it.
But now the big question.
The big question.
Can Campbell's style, this high-risk, high-reward style, can it actually work in the playoffs?
That's what everybody wants to know.
Or is it going to be their undoing?
Because the playoffs are a different animal.
No, absolutely.
The pressure is so much higher.
Every decision matters.
Every single play.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
It is.
Because on the one hand, it can catch opponents off guard.
Right. They don't know what to expect.
And it can just shift the momentum like that.
It can completely change the game.
Yeah, it makes them so unpredictable.
And hard to prepare for.
But on the other hand, if you make the wrong move, one gamble that doesn't pay off,
it can be disastrous.
In a win-or-go-home scenario, that's it. Your season's over.
Your season's over.
It's fascinating, though.
It is.
Because it's the very thing that makes them so successful that could also be their downfall.
That's the paradox.
So why do you think this approach worked so well for them with this team?
I think there are a few reasons. First, there's the element of surprise.
Yeah.
Opponents just aren't ready for it.
They don't see it coming.
So they're forced to react, in the moment.
And that throws off their game plan.
Exactly. And we saw that with the Packers.
Totally. All those blitzes early on, they weren't ready.
Nope.
And then second, I think it empowers the players.
Campbell's
Campbell's giving them the freedom to take risks.
You trust them.
To be playmakers.
To make big plays.
And that kind of trust, I think, it's got to be incredibly motivating for the players.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, they're not just following orders. They're actually contributing to the team's success.
They're part of the decision-making process.
In a real way.
Exactly.
And then finally, I think you got to think about the psychological impact on the other team.
Yeah.
Campbell's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, it keeps them guessing.
Keeps them on their toes.
And that can lead to, hesitation.
Second guessing.
Mistakes.
Exactly.
It's almost like they have this mental edge.
A psychological advantage.
Because they're not afraid to break the rules.
To defy conventions.
Yeah. So I guess for our listeners out there.
Yeah.
The big takeaway here is.
Right.
The Lions are not afraid to play their own way.
They're doing things differently.
They're pushing the boundaries.
Absolutely.
And it's made them one of the most exciting teams in the league.
And successful.
They're winning games.
They are.
They're breaking records.
Breaking records.
They've got this passionate fan base that's just energized right now.
It's contagious.
But the question is...
The big question.
Can they keep this up?
In the playoffs.
Can they maintain this intensity, this fearlessness against the best teams in the league.
We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, that's what's going to define their season, right?
It is.
The playoffs are a whole new level.
Yeah. But if they can harness that energy, that belief that got them to this point,
they have a chance.
They could go all the way.
They could.
It's going to be a wild ride.
It is.
And for everyone out there who's loving the Lions just like us,
yeah,
we're going to be back next week with another deep dive.
Another one.
And this time we're exploring the psychology.
Ooh, the psychology.
Of high-stakes decision-making in sports.
Interesting.
How do athletes and coaches deal with that pressure? Yeah. You know, make those split-second choices that can win or lose the game.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we're going to need like a whole separate deep dive just to unpack the mental game of the playoffs.
Yeah, for real. We could do a whole series on that.
Seriously.
But for now, I want to go back to that that 4th and long situation.
Okay.
You know, if you were Dan Campbell,
yeah,
facing that kind of decision in your own life, you know, it could be anything, career move, big investment, anything really high stakes.
Yeah.
Would you go for it? Would you be that bold?
That's a good question, actually.
It's something to think about.
It is. It really gets at what makes this team so interesting.
They're not just playing football.
Yeah.
You know, they're living it.
Yeah.
It's a mindset.
So before we wrap up here, for our listeners, what's the one thing you want them to remember about this Lions team, about their chances in the playoffs?
Okay, so I think the main takeaway here is, you know, they've proven they can win in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
They can outscore you.
Yeah.
They can come from behind.
Right.
And they're not afraid to take those risks.
Right.
When the game's on the line.
The Campbell special.
But, you know, the playoffs, they're a whole different animal.
Oh, yeah.
The margin for error, it just disappears.
Very tiny.
And every little mistake, it just gets amplified.
So their ability to adapt,
yeah,
to be resilient, that's going to be key.
It's going to be put to the test, for sure.
Big time.
They're going to have to evolve, you know, keep adjusting your strategies as they go up against tougher and tougher opponents.
Yeah, but if they can keep that same energy,
that same belief,
yeah,
that got them this far,
it could really do something special.
They could.
The story's not over yet. We'll have to wait and see what happens next.
Can't wait to see how it unfolds.
And for all you listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around you. We'll be back with more deep dives soon.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of.